I said, what is it against the law for me to travel with cash? I'm up here to purchase a truck.
Today on InvestigateTV Plus, a grandfather fights the government after federal agents seize his life savings at the airport without making an arrest. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. We take an in-depth look at the law that some are calling a cash grab and the bipartisan efforts on Capitol Hill to change it.
Plus, we investigate a controversial court where a small-town mayor acts as judge and jury, often snaring out-of-town drivers with costly tickets.
This is a revenue-generating mechanism. It's not about justice. It's not about efficiency. It's not about fairness. It's about making money.
Then, real or fake?
Yeah, you could tell. If you just put them up next to each other, you could see the difference.
Experts reveal the common threads found in counterfeit handbags. And we show you how one luxury designer has gone high-tech to protect high fashion.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching InvestigateTV Plus.
At airports across the country, drug agents stop airline passengers just trying to make their flight and take their money. Our investigation found that in the vast majority of these cases, the passengers were not arrested or charged with a crime. It's called civil asset forfeiture, and according to the ACLU, thousands of people are stopped and stripped of their money each year by U.S. law enforcement.
Investigator Brendan Keefe goes in-depth with a Louisiana grandfather and church deacon who, after having his life savings taken by drug agents at the airport, fought the government to get what was rightfully his returned.
Kermit Warren is back on the road to recovery. His fight with the government finally in the rearview mirror.
What does this truck mean to your livelihood?
Everything. Without this, I can't make my money. I can't feed my family.
It wasn't a hurricane here in New Orleans' lower Ninth Ward that took his life savings. DEA agents seized his $28,000 at the airport in Columbus, Ohio.
They said we were notified that you had a lot of cash on you. I said, what is it against the law for me to travel with cash? I'm up here to purchase a truck.
The pandemic took Kermit's job as the shoe shine man at a New Orleans hotel. So he and his son decided to start a towing business. They found this used truck for sale in Ohio and flew there with the cash to buy it. But they decided it wasn't the right truck for them.
I said, I'm not going to get this vehicle. We're going to go to the airport. We're going to fly back to New Orleans.
With the money.
With the money.
They left with the same money in this bag photographed when they arrived in Ohio. On the way home, Kermit told TSA at the Columbus airport he had a large amount of cash, and court records show the TSA informed the DEA agents, who seized the money without finding drugs.
I wasn't arrested. I wasn't charged with any kind of crimes or anything. All they wanted to do was take my cash and send me back home.
They didn't have to prove you were a drug dealer. You had to prove you weren't a drug dealer.
That's correct, sir. I said, if you don't believe me, we have the number to the gentleman who we're going to buy the vehicle from. We have a description of the vehicle. We have pictures of the vehicle. Didn't want to hear any of that. It was just see cash, take cash.
Kermit's father drowned here when the levees broke during Hurricane Katrina. His mother died soon after. They didn't have much, but what they had, they left to their son. And Kermit says that inheritance was among the money the DEA seized.
Most of it was my life savings. I would take $100 per week and put on the side for like 25 years.
How did Kermit eventually pay for a tow truck? He filed a claim for his own money in federal court.
Drug dealers don't try to get their money back from the police. They say, well, this is the cost of doing business, right?
That's correct. I would have chalked it up and said, that's just a part of that lifestyle. But I work hard for my money. Everything I have is from blood, sweat, and tears.
Now he's back in the driver's seat here in New Orleans, the sun setting on the case after the nonprofit Institute for Justice represented him for free, and federal prosecutors agreed to drop the case and return his money.
What was it like when the government gave you every single penny back? How did that feel?
I knew I would get it back because I know one thing, I was innocent.
Do you feel vindicated?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? I'm fighting. with everything living inside of me that this does not happen to anybody else.
Members of Congress are responding to our investigation. 9 Democrats and 9 Republicans have co-sponsored the Fifth Amendment Integrity Restoration Act, or FAIR Act. The FAIR Act would force the government to prove to a federal judge with clear and convincing evidence that money seized came from a criminal activity. Also, all cash civil forfeitures would go to the Treasury's general fund, so federal agencies and local police would no longer get to keep the money they seize.
You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Not, oh, you're guilty, give me your stuff, and then you can have it back if you prove you didn't get it through ill-gotten gains. And that's not the way our country's supposed to work.
The power of the government to simply seize property just based on a belief, a mere belief, an unfounded belief even, that property is associated or connected with criminal activity.
Investigator Brendan Keefe joins us now. Brendan, what is the status of the FAIR Act?
Lee, the FAIR Act was favorably reported to the full U.S. House of Representatives. It's now up to leadership whether or not it's brought up for a vote on the House floor. GovTrack gives it a 44% chance of passing this year, but law enforcement agencies have come out against the bill, saying it would be a gift to the drug cartels.
Brendan, how much money has been seized by the government through this program?
$1.3 billion. That's how much the U.S. Justice Department seized in 2022 alone. Most of that was from the DEA, and most of that was from passengers at airports. The federal forfeiture fund right now has $5 billion in it, billion with a B, and the Justice Department can spend that money however it pleases.
Our in-depth coverage continues online. You can read and watch Brendan's reports on civil asset forfeiture on InvestigateTV.com. Just search In Plain Sight.
Still to come, is that Prada a nada? Or that Chanel a sham? An expert shares the tricks and tips to spotting what's a designer handbag and what's a dupe.
But first, drivers ticketed for speeding in dozens of small towns across America may be forced to answer to a mayor who also serves as judge and jury.
The conflict of interest is so patently obvious, not to mention the fact that the mayor doesn't have to be a lawyer.
We investigate an uncommon justice system and how one town profited off mayor's court.
If you get a ticket in a small town in Louisiana, you could deal with a type of court that doesn't even exist in 48 other states.
Mayor's courts are unique because even without a law degree, a mayor is allowed to preside over court. We take an in-depth look at one southwestern Louisiana town where the mayor made it a top priority to profit off people passing through and examine whether he can actually be an impartial judge. Audio inside a tense staff meeting.
So he's gone. By the end of this morning, there's gonna be some layoff.
Led by a Louisiana mayor who refuses to answer our questions in an interview.
Mr. Mayor, how are you? Lee Zurich. We talked on the phone. How you doing?
This mayor is also a judge without a law degree. He has little, if any, training to run a courtroom.
There's no accountability, Lee.
And it happens because the state of Louisiana allows it. Only Louisiana and Ohio have this unique and little-known legal system.
You frustrated right now?
Am I? Am I mad? Yeah, I'm mad.
We met Teresa Parker in Fenton, Louisiana, a small village north of Lake Charles, about 3 hours away from her Slidell home.
Do you think they're taking advantage of people?
I felt like they did. I felt like he did.
Fenton police pulled Parker over on her way back from a nearby casino. To contest the ticket, she drove all the way back to Fenton and showed up to what's known as Mayor's Court.
So the court's closed tonight, they told you?
Yeah, they told me. I drove all the way down here for nothing.
The fines and fees that run through Mayor's Court essentially run the town. In the last year reviewed by auditors, more than 90% of the village of Fenton's revenue, $1.3 million, was collected from fines and fees. The vast majority from traffic tickets.
90+% of their town budget, village budget, is from tickets from people like you.
So of course they're gonna give people tickets.
Because what?
They get revenue from it. And it's not fair.
And if you're someone like Teresa Parker who thinks she was wrongfully ticketed, you need to convince this person you're innocent. Eddie Alford, the mayor of Fenton, who is also the courtroom judge.
Mr. Mayor, you told us you would do an interview with us, though, Mr. Mayor.
Talk to the attorney.
You told me on the phone that you would do an interview with me, sir.
Right here, talk to the attorney.
He told us on the phone that he would do an interview with us.
If he doesn't want to do an interview, he doesn't want to do an interview.
Alfred is the elected mayor of Fenton, a small village of just 226 residents. Instead of having a traffic or municipal court, the law allows Fenton to have mayor's court, where the mayor acts as judge, jury, and even appoints his own prosecutor.
I mean, you have the mayor as the decision maker, essentially the judge. And the results of those decisions, which are minor municipal offenses only, but they're criminal in nature, and they result in the assessment of fines that go to the city, of which the mayor is the chief administrative officer. The conflict of interest is so patently obvious, not to mention the fact that the mayor doesn't have to be a lawyer.
A 1972 United States Supreme Court ruling says defendants' rights are violated if a mayor sits on the bench, is responsible for town finances, and if the court accounts for a substantial share of the town's revenue. So how much is substantial? A court in Ohio says 10%. The Louisiana Judicial College uses that same threshold. Again, Fenton makes more than 90% of its annual revenue from court.
This is a perfect example of why it's unfair. And exactly why they have it. This is a revenue generating mechanism. It's not about justice. It's not about efficiency. It's not about fairness. It's about making money.
Tulane Emeritus Law Professor Joel Friedman says this audio recording proves his point.
On black. Why I won't traffic ticket. I talked to you yesterday.
At a September meeting with some town employees, the mayor complained police weren't writing enough tickets. That's despite records showing officers wrote an average of about 16 tickets per day for a town of just 226 people. And those tickets help bring the town lots of money. The $1.3 million from fines and fees helped make Fenton's budget about 5 times as high as towns with similar populations.
Our main income is traffic ticket, and they ain't getting written. So that's not no good thing right there.
One person in the meeting and another town employee identified the person speaking as the mayor. Both asked not to be identified because they fear retribution.
I'm surprised that there hasn't been a major constitutional challenge to this on fairness due process grounds, because clearly to me, for all the reasons I mentioned, it seems to me to be constitutionally infirm.
More than 90% of your revenue comes from tickets. We just wanted to talk to you about that.
Since our investigation into mayor's court and the fees collected by the town, the mayor of the village of Fenton will no longer preside over court. Mayor Eddie Alford Jr. also defended sitting on the bench.
The prosecutor presents the plea arrangements to me, and all I do is accept them. The individual does not speak to me. So how is that not fair?
In late November 2023, Fenton's council approved Satricia Williams Bensadat to serve as the town's magistrate. Bensadat says she actually reached out to Fenton and offered to preside over court. In the meantime, at least one Louisiana state lawmaker wants to change the system. Representative Edmund Jordan, who's also an attorney, says he believes having a mayor hire a magistrate could still pose a conflict of interest.
Still to come, how martial arts inspired a teenager with special needs to fight adversity. But first, is it a deal or a dud?
You're not going to see these bags at discount stores.
What looks like a designer handbag may come with extra baggage. We show you how experts spot fakes and why the cost of buying one goes far deeper than your wallet. In 2020, the federal government said counterfeiting was the largest criminal enterprise in the world, with estimated sales totaling at least $1.7 trillion annually.
Yeah, more than 30% of all counterfeit products seized by the federal government are handbags and wallets. The feds warn the dangers of buying counterfeits aren't always obvious. Some of the risks include economic impacts, legal implications, and even health and safety risks.
Honest shoppers looking to purchase a designer handbag may be fooled by the counterfeit ones. The experts we spoke to say it's easy to get tricked if you don't know what to look for.
Reporter Harry Samler takes us inside a pawn shop to show us why the devil is in the details.
What does a pawn shop owner know about designer bags? Everything.
This is a $8,000 bag new.
Jason Wallace with Smyrna Pawnbrokers specializes in designer bags. He advertises Louis Vuitton, Plus, Gucci, and Yves Saint Laurent. Designer bags that keep their value.
You're not going to see these bags at discount stores. Louis Vuitton will get rid of the bag before they discount it, so they hold their value. You're not paying $3,000 for a Louis Vuitton bag, and then you walk into a Marshall's and you see it is last year's model for $12.99. It's never going to happen.
Chanel is at the top. Here are two bags that appear to be stitched together with the finest caviar leather, but it's hard to tell the difference in a video or from pictures. Wallace says you have to feel the quality.
When you touch each of these, you can just tell.
Here's the real used Chanel, priced at $5,000. The cloth on the inside is high quality, and it has a tag with a specific serial number.
Now, the fake ones will have something that looks similar, but generally the fake ones have all the exact same serial number. If you run that serial number on there and put it in Google and Chanel, and if a bunch of other bags have the same thing and Reddit and whatnot, it's going to be fake.
Oops, this imitation Chanel says made in China. Louis Vuitton is a more affordable option. Gift quality used bags start around $800. The Louis on the left is real, and the Louis on the right is not. Jason says the poor quality strap gives it away.
Yeah, you can tell if you just put them up next to each other, you can see the difference.
And here's something we didn't know. Pre-2021 Louis bags have a manufacturer date code inside every bag, but so do imitations. Check this out. In 2021, Louis Vuitton smarted up and added something called an RFID chip that you can scan and verify with your phone.
This is called an NFC reader. It's a free app.
But for the novice buyer, none of this is foolproof. Jason uses a verification service and a device to take extreme close-ups, and he sends them to a company for analysis. Here's real, and here's the imitation. It is not even close.
Are you gonna have to go through your closet tonight to make sure you don't have any knockoffs?
I'm not admitting to anything, but this is what I will tell people, is that if you see a Louis Vuitton bag for $60, it's probably not real.
I would say it's definitely not real,
definitely
right?
not real,
Yes.
yeah. And if you suspect someone is selling or producing counterfeit goods, you can call the Intellectual Property Rights or IPR Center hotline at 1-866-477-2060.
Up next, a teenager's fighting spirit.
If you look at where she was and where she is, the diagnosis and the prognosis in the beginning and where she is now, it's night and day.
Inspires her mom to share her daughter's journey in hopes of motivating others to overcome their limitations. A Georgia mother is sharing her daughter's story in hopes of inspiring others to defy the odds.
Jacqueline Bouchard, or Jack, faced big challenges when she was very young, and doctors told her family she may never be able to do things like other kids. But with the help of her family, Jack proved them wrong.
Reporter Sam Bowman introduces us to Jack and shows us how she turned the page on her doubters.
Jacqueline Bouchard, or Jack, has been a fighter since birth.
Just after she was born, she was taken to the NICU at Memorial, and she spent 12 days there where they determined that she had a hypoxic ischemic brain injury, which caused brain damage and ultimately caused her microcephaly, which is what she was diagnosed with at 5 months old.
And about 12 years later, when Jack's seizures returned, her parents once again gave her the opportunity to fight.
We convinced her to start jiu-jitsu.
Albeit using a little bribery.
We said, well, you can wear a pink gi, and that's what made her want to start, is she could wear a pink gi.
So pink gi adorned, Jack joined Special Kicks at Pula Karate, a program designed to make martial arts like jiu-jitsu accessible to everyone. And seemingly just like that, everything changed.
And if you look at where she was and where she is, the diagnosis and the prognosis in the beginning and where she is now, I mean, it's night and day. Like, doctors, I think, would be very proud to see how far she's come now.
An incredible story, certainly one worth sharing, which is exactly what Jack's mom, Kelly, is now hoping to do.
This is the first time I've ever written a book.
The book, JiuJitsu Jack, a story of a special girl.
For me, writing is a very therapeutic thing.
This story, a physical reminder for Kelly of just how tough her daughter is.
To watch her grow into a young woman, into a teenager, and just see the person she's becoming.
A story of acceptance.
Well, my hope is that people will realize that even people with special needs still want the same things that everybody else wants. They want love, acceptance, they want friends.
And a story that proves, even if you're still in the middle of the toughest part of your own story, that happy ending is still possible if, like Jack, you're willing to fight.
What I hope for this is that it gives them some encouragement and some hope that things are going to be okay and that you can make the best of any situation. And Jacqueline certainly has, and I'm very proud of her and all the things that she's done.
If you'd like to get your own copy of JiuJitsu Jack, it's available now online wherever you purchase books.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus,
our oldest would have been from 1913 or 1914.
So over 100 years old.
Yes.
thousands of cremated remains sit in the basement of a hospital unknown to their families.
The patinas are magnificent, and the copper is magnificent. And yet there's an underlying sadness.
We travel to Oregon for an in-depth look at efforts to reunite distant relatives.